Okay, let me test my volume. Testing volume. Great. Okay, so before I start the weekly forecast, I would like to show you what is it like to be in my Telegram group. Okay, so let me just hold on. All right, so let's just say, for example, I'm going to use Friday's example. Okay, I highlighted that I was looking for this setup here to take out the previous week's high. Okay, in my Telegram you're gonna get almost daily updates like this: pre-London session, during the London session, and pre-New York and during New York session as well. And you're gonna get the daily bias. Okay, so after annotating that, as you can see right here, I have basically walked through the entire price action, but on the higher time frame scale, like not minute candles. Okay, and even after getting into a position right here, I outlined what I want to see and what I'm expecting. Okay, and then eventually all the way into the close of the position right here. So I close my position right here, and if you can see, eventually we have NQ completing the move here from this fair value gap as highlighted before. Okay, and everything played out very smoothly. So this is just an example of what you're gonna get, okay, if you decide to join the Telegram group. Right, I'm not promising that every time it's gonna be like that, but this is just a typical framework of what I'm doing on and inside the group itself. So definitely, as you can see, I'm calling live price action, right? Nothing it's about hindsight, everything it's forecasted. Okay, because I think that that's the only way to improve, right? If you keep on trying to use or just talk about hindsight, then I think there isn't much learning value there. okay, it can only help to a certain extent, okay, which is why I have opted for this type of group here. So subscriptions are basically $30 USD per month. That is like $1 per day if you want to count it like that. So I think it's worth the value, and you can just try like $3 per month and see if you like it, right? And of course, if you are looking for a 7-day free trial, you can sign up on Patreon, because Whoop, WHOP, doesn't allow any free trials, because I'm accepting payments through PayPal. So that's the only mode of payment that I'm accepting, is just through PayPal. So I think that's safe, and that's reliable as well. So I think it's a very good starting point here, right? So as you can see, all this, they are all what I'm predicting, and these videos here are basically live streams that I have recently added into the group here, because I am lazy to type if I have many things to annotate. So I would use video format to do like a short update, like less than 10 minutes typically, for like pre-London session or pre-New York session, or the daily bias during the Asia sessions, right? You can just pause the video and look through the times whereby I posted whereby I keyed in this information, and sometimes they are trade reviews that I've just walked through. Okay, so in those reviews I explain why I did what I did and stuff like that. So yeah, basically it's just like shadowing me, like I'm just sharing what I do usually, and I think you can learn it somehow, speed up your process of learning if you are provided with such point of view. Okay, now enough of promotion. Let's start with the weekly forecast. Okay, so weekly forecast, right now I'm on the the weekly candle here, and let's switch over to the monthly candle. So price is still trading above all-time highs for both ES and NQ, right? On the weekly, it has closed above this order block, bullish order block for ES. However, Nasdaq, it's not able to do so. Alright, so from here you can see that Nasdaq, it's way more bearish than ES, as it always have been since several weeks ago. Okay, on the daily chart, nothing seems to be confirming the top yet, but I am overall starting to lean bearish. And why is that so? Because if you take the look at the roadmap here, using this projection, this is a daily time frame. Okay, using the projections here, you can see that ES has reached into the midpoint of this -2 to -2.5 manipulation range, right? I think it's reasonable to expect one more stop hunt before we send the price lower, right? Why is that so? Because for ES, if you take a look at the daily swing lows, this was the last swing low that it has taken out. Sorry, this one, before this move higher. Alright, and from here to here, this was the last sell stops that it has taken before the move up into this area here. So in my opinion, we are probably going to look for a daily sell stops very soon, due to the fact that we are trading in this projection range, and at the same time we are heading into March. So usually March provides the manipulation, right? As you can see, if you backtest on hindsight, right, so you look back the charts over the years, focus on US election years, and then you look at the month of February into March, so basically 2 months, February and March, you would tend to see that great manipulation happens during these times. Okay, so this is ES, right? Let's take a look at the roadmap for NQ. For NQ, similarly, we are trading into this 2 to 2.5. This is the parent projection here. Okay, we have a smaller one which lines up nicely within this range here, that would be -4. So I think it's reasonable to expect one more stop hunt before we trade lower. So right here, as you can see, there's SMT on the lows against ES, right? So I mean, this projection range, I shall not further explain it. You can look up Trader Dexter if you want to read more, or if you want to learn more about the projection levels. Okay, so right here, as you can see, we have SMTs. ES basically traded into the rejection block here and then spool higher, and then we have this BC here. Same thing as Nasdaq, lower lows, however, but we still have this BC here. So overall, we are still bullish for now. Okay, how do I confirm or look for bearishness is if I can see SMTs on the highs, which right now we have yet to see that, right? So if you take a look at the three indices right here, right, so the three indices side by side, they have all taken or made higher highs. So right now there isn't any SMT available for reversals, right? So high probability reversals are always matched with SMTs, either on the highs or on the lows. So I'm looking out for that. Okay, and even on the 4 hours, there isn't any SMTs as well. So I'm cautious of calling tops for now, right? And I think that we still have the opportunity to attack previous week's high, which is this high right here, this swing high here on the 4 hours. It's the previous week's high. Okay, now within this daily fair value gap, this daily BC here, going down into the 4 hours time frame, I'm gonna look for bullish confluences on the left. So for example, NQ would be the easiest because it's still relatively within the dealing range. We have this inversion here, and we have this inversion here. Right, so as you can see, this candle here respected this lower inversion. So because we have a closing price below the consequent encroachment of this inversion, I believe it's gonna run this sell stop here into this lower inversion level here. That's highlighted in red, right? And maybe the consequent encroachment of that. And then I want to see how it trades. Does it drops even lower, right? And for me, this right here would be the last line of defense. If we have a 4 hours candle closing below this inversion, then I think we are probably going to reverse in terms of we're going to trade lower. And right here on ES, you can see that we have relative equal lows coupled with a fair value gap. So I think the easiest low hanging fruit that's going to happen during the next week, first half of next week, would be driving down into this fair value gap here for ES, and for NQ this inversion level, and probably the consequent encroachment of that. Okay, so that's the first draw on liquidity in the first half of next week. That's what I'm expecting. Now, do we trade higher after trading into this inversion? I'm not too sure. We will have to see if it can trade above this inversion yet again for NQ. Okay, so why this fair value gap? Because this fair value gap was utilized to take out this high here and this high here. So closing below this is going to act as resistance, and obviously if you're bullish, you want to see price trade above this inversion here. Okay, so to me, until price can trade above this inversion, I would probably be sidelined, which means I'm not gonna have any buyers, because we are back in the dealing range from this swing high to this swing low, and this right here is just a stop hunt. For ES, on the other hand, we are above the previous dealing range. So for ES, obviously it's bullish, it's way more bullish than NQ, right? So how far can it trade below here? To me personally, I think this is the lowest that it should go. The moment this low, this fair value gap gets traded through on a closing basis, then I think we're probably going to fill up the inefficiencies below. Why? Because this candle here was the candle that took out this swing high and this swing high. So right here, this is a high probability fair value gap for longs. Okay, and we have the breaker as well here, this breaker and this breaker. So if that's it, how is this even a breaker, right? You can use this as your stop hunt. Stop hunts on rejection blocks, right? The low or the high, it's a very high probability invalidation. So if this is to run higher, this low, this high here, this breaker here should not be violated, right? So this up close candle here that lies within this BC, right? Worst come to worst, it can trade down into this fair value gap, but this breaker must hold the price, right? And it's a high probability breaker because of SMT as well. SMT. Okay, so still higher prices overall until proven otherwise, and we still have projection targets for NQ. I think we are going to tag the standard deviation 4 regardless, before any form of major reversals. For ES, it can trade up into the midpoint of the 2 to 2.5 and then just stop hunt the most recent high here. Okay, and that's basically my framework heading into next week. I'm gonna be on the sidelines. I'm gonna watch what Monday and Tuesday it's going to do, and then I'm gonna watch for Wednesday and Thursday. Wednesday and Thursday are most likely reversal points if we are to trade lower from Monday to Tuesday. Make sense? So think in terms of power of 3 on the weekly candle. That would be easier to frame the narrative. Alright, and that's it for indices. I'm gonna move on to HSI, and that's gonna be the last market that I'm gonna cover here. No, last two. Let's do DXY first. DXY and then HSI. I don't think it's this chart here. Let me switch it. Right, so DXY, it's over here. Right, so far DXY, it's not closing below the mean threshold of the breaker. Okay, it still hasn't shown any bearish signs or signals, right? Even though it traded all the way down, when you take a look at the wick here, as ICT likes to, or ICT always says, the body tells the story, the wick does or do the damage, right? So all in all, the body is still closing above the mean threshold of the breaker. So I think for DXY, we are ready to go higher. Okay, we are not going to reverse anytime soon for DXY. That is just my opinion, and we'll have to see how it performs next week. But I think that DXY, it's going to go higher. If you take a look at the weekly chart, it basically traded down into this breaker and into this weekly fair value gap, and notice the close of the candle, it's closing above the fair value gap. So for now, it's still bullish. Okay, and I'll be looking at the final objective or the terminus to be this swing high here. And if you take a look at the daily chart, it's like a market maker buy model, but then at the same time, you gotta factor in the monthly time frame trading into a old inversion fair value gap coupled with a CB. So it's kind of thicker on the XY, but on the daily time frames, it doesn't look like it's going to drop. Okay, so if we are bullish on the XY, obviously we're going to be bearish on the indices, right? If everything aligns together, that's how it should be. So I'm just looking and anticipating for that to happen for the XY, right? And now let's move on to HSI. Alright, HSI will be the last market that I'm gonna cover here. Now on the weekly time frame, we have closed above this CB here, which is not what I want to see. This was like the last defense for this invalidation. So right now, since it has closed above, I'm anticipating it to use it as support to run this high here. We still have some inefficiencies left above this swing high, and I think it's going to run for that inefficiency next week onwards. Okay, if you take a look at the monthly chart, we are basically going to trade above this green close candle, and until we can close above the consequent encroachment of this wick here, I'm still gonna stay bearish on HSI. Okay, so this wick is what I'm looking at. It can just run the stops here and then trade lower again, and that is what I'm anticipating for HSI. I'm still bearish until it trades above that halfway point of the monthly premium week. Right, so that's for HSI. And personally, best case scenario, I do not want to see price closing above this level here. This level here. It can trade up into that, but I do not want to see a body above this level here at 17,339. Okay, and that's it for HSI. Right, and I think that's about it as well for this session here. Oh wait, I think I didn't record the HSI. Let me just rewind this. I'm lost. I am lost in my charts. Hold on a second. I'm trying to figure out. Yep, so HSI, what I was saying is that because it has closed above this CB here, I'm expecting it to trade higher into this invalidation. And after taking out this invalidation, I do not want to see price closing above 17,339 for continued bearish prices. That's the best case scenario. Okay, and ultimately, if the monthly is able to close above this midpoint of this premium wick here, then I would be on the sidelines because I'm not sure what HSI is going to do. Okay, so right now I'm still bearish. This could just be a stop hunt for lower prices, but in the short term, I'm expecting this fair value gap to support the price to go higher. Okay, and that's it for HSI. Right, and with this, I'm gonna end the session now. And I wish you guys a great weekend and good luck trading for the next week.